right. Good morning. Buenos dias. I hope you are well, staying positive and focused on what you can control. My name is Patricia Mota. I'm currently serving as president and CEO for the Hispanic Alliance for Career Enhancement, a national nonprofit organization whose mission since 1982 is to positively impact workplaces by cultivating the pipeline of Latinx talent across the country, providing Latinos the insight, access, and development to be successful in their careers. Visit our website, see our upcoming events, ensure that you continue to share My Career, My Way, your story in terms of your career journey, your career trajectory. Check out our career coaching program and opportunities on our website as well. And heads up that our virtual career fair is happening on October 1st. So get your resumes ready. Get ready to engage. There's a couple workshops that are available to help you prepare. So make sure to go to the website. And lastly, we are celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. So make sure to reach out to HACE to support you during this month. We have several great lunch and learns, keynote addresses that are going on, but most importantly, creating awareness regarding the critical need on ensuring and understanding the economic contributions and the power behind the Latinx community. So all those announcements aside, get ready to engage in today's conversation. We have our special guest today, who is Jackie Kennedy Harris, who is the founder of JKH Career Coaching and Consulting. Jackie, buenos dias. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I know it's earlier
Awesome.
for you, right? Are you in the West Coast?
West Coast with a lot of smoke in the clouds. Okay, so we have a lot of smoke going on, but yes, West Coast here in California.
In California. So we send
Yes.
our regards to all those. It sucks to have to go through that again, right?
Yes.
With Cafecito con HACE, so our best to all of those going through that. How do you prefer your coffee prepared or your morning beverage of choice?
Yes. So my morning of choice in terms of beverage is tea. I like hot tea, and I like it with milk and sugar. So, and no matter what the weather climate is like, that's a total commitment to drink tea every morning.
Tea, any type of tea? Is it like a black tea, green tea?
Black tea, yeah, black tea. It's P&G, which is it was made in Europe. It's a European tea brand, but definitely I have to have the hot tea with milk and sugar, which I find it so interesting. I can't drink iced tea because I feel like it needs to be warmed up. So I think I've definitely gotten used to drinking it hot with milk and sugar.
I love it. I love it. I love the question just because we get to, really learn about the different preferences that we each have, whether it's with our tea and coffee and how unique that is. So all of you all tuning in, please have your questions ready. We have time with the coach here, and Jackie's also going to be helping with our college students specifically and coaching them in terms of preparing for their career journey or as they're getting started. So that's super exciting. Jackie, tell us a little bit more about your background, your career trajectory, your cultural background, and how you got to where you are today.
Awesome. Yes. So I am European. I was born and raised in England, and my parents are from the West Indies, and it's very traditional for West Indians to migrate to England to raise a family, to have a better life. From there, we ended up coming to America, where most of my high school education and college education was in the United States. Quite interestingly, along those same lines, I was faced with a lot of different challenges along the way, having to adapt to a different culture. But those are the things that you do to overcome barriers to kind of make you who you are today. So I ended up going to college, first generation college graduate, went to Fresno State, and I then graduated and was accepted into a management training program for a large rental car company, and moved up very quickly in the company, and was introduced to different aspects of the business, kind of focused more on the human resources side, training and recruiting, definitely involved with students, hiring a lot of students. And from there, it gave me an opportunity to pursue, a business, do something on my own, and to continue to help students along the way. So that's always kind of been my passion. I call the students my family. So they're part of my whole family. So, with that being said, that gave me a chance to really move into a career position and to pursue all of what I've learned and be able to give that back to the community, to students today. So it's been a very exciting journey. I spent about 25 years in corporate America before pursuing my own business.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. I think a lot of folks that are tuning in are also, first generation pursuing a college degree. Also have shared, a lot of our listeners or those tuning in, the immigrant story and being the first in the family. And perhaps we have some folks that are tuning in. They're also Fresno State alumni. So you have some of your colleagues. So everyone show Jackie some love, share your own story. Let's hear from you as well. As well. And so, Jackie, one of the things that and you shared regarding, your journey into starting your own coaching business, along the way, you've coached several, folks that are getting ready to prepare for their first career, right? And so us as having our first not the first, but the virtual career fair targeting college students and entry-level talent on October 1st. And so this is a great opportunity for those to have meet one-on-one with recruiters from various companies across the country. It is virtual, but there's a video FaceTime availability, or if you want to chat. So there's options in terms of what you're most comfortable with. So what tips or advice do you have, Jackie, for those that are planning to attend to get ready for that?
So, yeah. And with everything being virtual, it's very, very different now than it is being in person, right? Because you have to be able to sell yourself in a virtual capacity.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, the one thing that I always think, there's several tips, but the first thing I think about, of course, technology, right? You hear that all the time. Make sure that you have the proper lighting. Make sure that, you test run, your background to make sure everything looks good. I know sometimes students love to do things on their iPhones, but maybe a laptop may be a little bit more appropriate, in terms of just having the full view of what you may need. But definitely elevator pitch. That's one of my things that I talk about a lot. Because virtual interviews are limited to 10, 15 minutes, you have to make that impression right away. And how do you separate yourself and shine when you have someone that's next to you in the next 10 minutes that may be able to do that or not do that? And I feel like the elevator pitch, which is that 30-second commercial of selling yourself, is very crucial. That's the icebreaking point when you do virtual interviewing. Also, professionalism. You may think, okay, well, my appearance is okay. They're not going to see. No, employers will look at yourself. They'll look at your background. They'll look and see if there's proper lighting. They'll see if you're even smiling. So even if you're a person that you may not like to smile. You're going to have to make that impression, right? So you want to make sure that you have that permanent smile for that 10-minute window when you're interviewing. The other thing I say is, it is okay to take notes. Sometimes when you're doing virtual interviews, a person may look down and you may feel like, well, I need to be at the camera the entire time. It's okay to take notes if the person that's interviewing you, if they're giving you good information, it's okay to look down and take notes with regards to that. The other area that I always focus on is, of course, knowing the position, knowing the company, knowing the position that you're applying to. And it doesn't have to be lengthy, but they need to know that you know. And part of that is being able to show that interest in why I want to work for your company. At the same time, we talk about music and background. Make sure all of that's just you're in a silent area where there's very sound is not any, just there's no distraction that's taking place. And definitely, at the end of the interview, you want to be able to build rapport. You may say, well, how do I do that in 10 minutes? Well, part of that is that icebreaking. As you go into the virtual interview, build a rapport with the employer, right? You want to be able, we're having a conversation here today, right? So that, we could be doing an interview. It should be very interactive in regards to that, because at the end of the day, you want to leave an impression. You want that employer to say, okay, I want to call this person back because not only did they have an awesome introduction, the elevator pitch was just amazing, but they also interacted. They gave some personal, experiences into the interview. They showed they were engaged. They smiled. These are the things that you definitely need to know when you're doing virtual interviews is be yourself, because they can see through that, obviously, if you're not. But at the same time, make that impression. And the follow-up is probably the key thing. It's been amazing when you do some interviews. I've had folks actually email me right afterwards and say, thank you for that interview. It was awesome, like in a matter of seconds. So follow-up is crucial. Okay. You want to make sure that you definitely are following up with that employer, because again, you want to separate yourself and be the one that they're going to remember as they go through their entire interviews. They're going to go, oh, I still remember that person that had the awesome elevator pitch. Let me follow up and give them a call.
Lots of nuggets there, Jackie. Lots there. You talked about your elevator pitch, making sure the video that your setup is makes a good impression as well. But you really did emphasize, right, that elevator pitch. Can we dig a little deeper on that in terms of any tips where folks are like, I don't know where to start. What do I say? How do I get ready to share that, right, in such a short amount of time? So to dig a little deeper on that, like what tips or advice do you have for someone to get started on that?
Yeah,
and build crafting that?
Absolutely. So for the elevator pitch, you have to identify who you are in terms of where your strengths are, right? And so those are the key things. So as you make your list on your strengths, this is where my strengths lie in this area. This is what I'm really good at. Then you start to look at the positions that you would ideally find yourself pursuing. Again, when you're looking for employment, you don't go for anything. You go for positions that kind of match your personality. And in that, you're able to create your elevator pitch by sharing some of the highlights in terms of your skills, what you're good at, as well as your own personal strengths in this 30-second window. Now, it's something that you craft eventually, time over time over time. So it's hard to make it happen right away in the beginning, but it's something that you should be able to almost recite. It should almost become natural for you. And so with an elevator pitch, again, you're looking at all of your strengths and you're putting that in a short paragraph, if you will. And with the introduction, my name is Jackie Candy Harris, and you go into what you're really good at, the things that you can provide to this employer that really generally do relate to you. That becomes a part of your introduction. And I always put that in perspective. If you look at you do a book report, you have your intro, right? That's the icebreaker of what the story is going to be about. It's the same thing with an elevator pitch. You're doing your introduction so you can share more about yourself during the interview. But the key thing, again, is to identify some of your own strengths initially to be able to create this 30-second window around, the things that come to you naturally, the strengths that you have within yourself that you can offer to any employer.
Lots of great tips. So those of you tuning in, if there are any questions, thank you, Ariel. He's giving kudos for the tips that are being shared. If there are any questions or comments, please let's dig right in now. And then we'll get ready to wrap up. Jackie, while we're waiting on any questions, anything else that you would add in terms of advice, whether it's for the virtual career fair or in general? I think one of the big conversations we've been having with a lot of HR leaders, and given that your background is also in HR, is the war of talent, right? And so I think right now there's a lot of opportunities, a good time for job seekers. And thank you, Marisol, also giving more kudos as it becomes a part of your introduction on the elevator pitch. But right now is your time, jobs, like those that are seeking, whether you're looking for your next opportunity, you're currently, working, or you're looking to transition. It's a good time now for job seekers. So anything else you would add for them to consider during this time? And well, we do have a question from Ariel. How should introverts prepare?
That's a very great question, because introverts have to try twice as hard now in the virtual environment, correct? I mentioned that a little bit earlier. I think for introverts, that has to be something where you almost practice. It's going to be uncomfortable. Interviews are meant to be uncomfortable, right? But at the same time, for someone that's introverted, it's very uncomfortable because that's not their natural personality, if you will. So, a lot of times if they're applying for a certain position, for introverts, they're going to have to practice the smiling part of it. And I know that sounds very, very simple, but it's yet so crucial when you're interviewing. The eye contact, which I think is a great thing in that virtual, it's not as as intimidating like it would be in person. I think it would be harder for an introvert in person because you can kind of see the eye contact and so forth and the body language. But because virtual is more or less to look at the camera, smile, I think that's the key thing. I think they have an opportunity to be able to somewhat show their personality. And even if it is uncomfortable, the smiling will overcome their actions. But again, introverts, I think that's the one thing that I think is actually a plus virtually for someone that is an introvert, because we can't really see your eye contact. So if you're looking somewhere else, we can't really tell. We can't see your body language, but the smiling will overcome that piece of being very nervous and shy, if you will, because introverts tend to look down. This way they can just look at the camera, and I think the smiling aspect of it is going to be the key factor in overcoming their personality in terms of being introverted. Yeah, that's a great question. That is a
really great question. I think, and like those that are introvert, leveraging this virtual environment, right, to their benefit, right? Because I think you had a lot of great points in terms of that not being in person and not being as intimidating with the eye-to-eye contact, right? The other thing, I mean, I would say, right, is that we are looking at screens, and so if it makes it easier to have your talking points on your screen somewhere, like you wouldn't normally have that on a face-to-face, right? It's like that's something that has been, I think, a huge benefit for us during this time, that to have it somewhere on the screen, right?
So exactly, yeah, because sometimes, right, sometimes
don't tell my secret. No,
exactly.
Gisela has a question. If I don't have the years of experience to transition into another career, what is the best advice you can give? That's a great question.
Okay, what was the question again? I'm sorry.
If I don't have the years of experience to transition in another career.
Well, okay, the first thing you would want to do is look at your experience that you do have in terms of, even if it's volunteer. Even if you have volunteer experience, you can equate that into work experience. I mean, ultimately, an employer is looking for your involvement, what you've done, and if those skills can apply to the position that they're trying to fill. So a lot of times, if you do not have work experience, you can definitely use your volunteer experience that you've had. And that could be anything from just community involvement. Even I had a person that actually had very minimal experience. However, she was a nanny during high school, for family members. And she was, we were able to tailor her resume to kind of show that as being work experience, even though it was volunteer per se. She was able to identify her skills on her resume that, again, things that employers would be looking for. So with limited experience, yeah, you definitely want to volunteer, or at least things that you've been involved in. You worked on a project, and you can put that down as part of your experience, which is the same as work experience for an employer when they're looking for that candidate.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And the other thing to keep in mind is, if you think you can do the job and not, go for it. I think, there's a statistic out there that says men are more likely to apply for those jobs that need more experience than women. And so sometimes I think women need to just jump right in. And if you know that you can do the job and you have the experience, whether it's not number of years, but like to Jackie's point, right, volunteerism and other ways that you've been engaged in. Even for our college students, don't take that lightly, right? The being involved with clubs and associations on campus and work study jobs and things like those all count, right? Towards experience, right?
Yes. Yeah. And
Jackie, go ahead.
Just to touch on what you said regarding clubs. That's one thing that I would definitely recommend for students, because employers do search for student clubs. That's one of the keywords that I would use to find, because we're looking for that person that can work in a team environment. Certain things come out of that. So if any of the students have an opportunity to be involved in a student club, definitely I would highly recommend that, because that is one of the keywords that a lot of employers will search for. If they're looking for someone to be in a team environment, they're going to look for student clubs.
Absolutely. That helped me a ton. I know when I was getting started in my career, because I was so involved. So last question, Jackie, as we're wrapping up, what are you most hopeful for, a positive story that you'd like to share with us?
I think, obviously, we'd love to have everyone back in the workforce. That's the ideal. And I know, sometimes that could be a little bit challenging.
Mhm.
And I think folks are getting, not as excited because of just not having the resource, available for them like they may have had pre-COVID, if you will. And so I think mentoring is a great way of just really staying connected. By that, I mean that, even in a situation where I've been able to have my business now in a virtual environment, I tend to have more mentees, if you will, where students are now saying, I don't have the resources, or professionals, I don't have the resources like I would have had, because everything's virtual. I need some help, some more career tutoring, if you will. So definitely find yourself, I think, staying positive and being able to offer something. And that's kind of why I think we all have to work together to kind of help those who need help. And part of that to me is the mentoring. That's the one thing that I think is really positive. I still have mentors, even more now than ever, because again, I don't want to lose that touch. I can't see everyone in person, right, like I normally would. So, definitely find a mentor, someone that can really help and guide you, along the way, because we all need to help each other to get everyone back to where they're back in the workforce and not feel, left out. I mean, can you imagine? They had some numbers that showed where students had dropped out of college because everything went virtual and they didn't know how to adapt to that. Imagine if they had a mentor, someone that could kind of get them back on track, right? So that's the key thing that I would say, find a mentor, and that person should be someone that can help you along the way, and from that, positive things will happen. We'll be able to get everyone back in the workforce, and if nothing else, that motivation to keep pursuing is gonna arrive from that.
So find that mentor, reach out and get help. Jackie, thank you so much. Jackie will be one of our coaches, so check her out. We'll have her on our website in the future to engage with even further. Reach out to her as well. Thank you so much, Jackie. Thank you
very much. I appreciate it.
Until next time.
Okay, until next time. You guys have a good day. Thank you. Bye-bye.